So it is Sunday, the 19th of March, 2017. We're in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. We have David Rowlett here, the husband of the minister, who has been having a really good chuckle at my protest against Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuse, and hypocrisy. He thinks it's really funny that the Unitarian Universalist Association has falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in Bill Cosby-style legal bullying that seeks to cover up and deny such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. He thinks it's quite funny that I'm protesting against the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry that not only I have personally encountered at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, but which many God-believing people have encountered in many other Unitarian Universalist churches. David Rowlett thinks this is funny. David Rowlett thinks this is something to laugh about. David Rowlett is an outrageous hypocrite who is totally incapable of practicing even one of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. David Rowlett is incapable of practicing respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every person. David Rowlett is incapable of practicing justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. David Rowlett is incapable of practicing the 3rd principle of Unitarian Universalism, which escapes me for the moment. David Rowlett is incapable of engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning of my picket signs and other aspects of my, oh yes, that's a give the complicit smile, that's a good one. Yeah, so David Rowlett, standing here filming me, if he actually practiced Unitarian Universalism's 4th principle, which calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, would discover that everything on my picket signs is backed by plenty of evidence. He would discover that I am, oh, another laugh, another chuckle, oh yeah, you're in such denial, you're in such, well, oh yes, that's it, the sham shame. Oh, and here comes another person who's totally complicit in Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial. Shoshona, her last name escapes me, but she's a prominent member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and Shoshona has directly involved herself in the erasure of my chalk slogans, which protest against Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. Oh, David, I really don't mind you filming this. In fact, I'd be very happy if you put that video up on the internet somewhere. Put it up on YouTube. Put it up on the church's website. Send it down to the UUA. I'd be only too happy for the public to see your video. They're going to see mine, I can assure you. The public are going to see, oh, you don't think the public are going to see my video? Oh, you don't care if the public see my video? Okay, well, yeah, that's your problem, David, is you don't care. You and every other moronic, hypocritical member of this church don't care about the very serious injustices and abuses and hypocrisies that I'm protesting about. So you're essentially a gigantic hypocrite, just like everyone else in that church, and you're welcome to be a hypocrite, and you're welcome to have me protesting here for another 5 years if you want. Anyhow, getting back to the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, if I remember correctly, the 5th principle calls for right of conscience and use of democratic process. David Rowlett doesn't seem to have much of a conscience to exercise a right to. He seems to be totally conscienceless. The Unitarian Church of Montreal has repeatedly betrayed the democratic protest, both internally within the workings of the church and externally. So I don't know who this guy is, but no, I'm not. I'm city property back from church. And you, oh, you sir, oh, a Trudeau salute. Thanks for the Trudeau salute, Mr. Two-Faced Hypocrite. Yeah, because you do not believe in a single one of the principles that are on the metal plaque inside that lobby, sir. This guy's telling me I'm private property. I might have been standing just slightly inside the edge of the sidewalk, but I can assure people that A, the sidewalk is definitely public property, and that's where I am most of the time, and B, from a legal standpoint, 3 feet back from the sidewalk is in fact city property, not private property. We've had this discussion quite a few times with the police. But what's interesting is that this person, coming to the Unitarian Church of Montreal seems more concerned about the fact that I might be just a few feet on the property of the Unitarian Church of Montreal than the fact that the Unitarian Church of Montreal is totally complicit in a variety of Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuses, and hypocrisies, which include, but are by no means limited to, the misuse of Canada's blasphemy law in legal bullying, which seeks to hide such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers, such as Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, to name one of them. But there are others. Not all of them are easy to name because the Unitarian Universalist religious community does a pretty good job of keeping this under wraps, and although they may admit to some cases here and there, they rarely name the ministers involved. But I can provide a certain list. Speaking of the number of cases of sexual abuse of children by Unitarian Universalist ministers, I brought the Unitarian Universalist Association's misuse of blasphemy law to the attention of UUA moderator Jim Key in the fall of 2013. I wrote him some emails, and I also had an hour-and-a-half long phone conversation with Jim Key in which we discussed the fact that certain Unitarian Universalist ministers are in fact guilty of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, and that the Unitarian Universalist Association, under the dubious leadership of UUA President Reverend Dr. Peter Beyond Belief Morales, had falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and legal bullying intended to hide such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. And we discussed this at length and some other issues as well. So Jim Key was well aware that certain Unitarian Universalist ministers had been charged, tried, and convicted of the sexual abuse of children, and yet several months later, close to a year later, UUA moderator Jim Key stood up in front of thousands of Unitarian Universalists in Providence, Rhode Island during the 2014 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I hope you're getting all of this, Dave. You should review the video because there's a lot of factual information here, but you can always come to YouTube and view mine. Oh yeah, that's smile of psychological denial and willful ignorance again. Getting back to Jim Key. Jim Key stood up, and in the middle of his first moderator's report to a Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, he said the following words: "There were no incidents of abuse of children or elders in my investigations." This is an outright bald-faced lie about his knowledge of sexual abuse of children. I personally told Jim Key about the fact that certain Unitarian Universalist ministers had been charged, tried, and convicted of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, outright rape of children. Yeah, it's a little dueling cameras, my friend, and you can be sure that my video is going up on YouTube very soon. David's I'm not so sure about, because if David had any brains, he doesn't want the public to know this. Oh yeah, laugh again. You think this is all so funny, David, but you're a total idiot if you think this is funny. You're a total idiot and a total fool if you believe that the issues that I'm protesting against are something to laugh about. The only thing that you really, could be laughing about is the total insanity of the Unitarian Universalist Association falsely accusing me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in the 21st century. That is truly laughable. That is truly ludicrous, to try to misuse Canada's blasphemy law to cover up pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. The pedophilia and rape and the cover-up is not funny at all, but to use Canada's blasphemy law towards that end, that is hilarious. That's a gigantic joke. So we're going to continue on our little way here. We've had a nice little monologue towards David Rollert, and we're just going to continue to circulate. But, you know, as I said, David is most welcome to film my protest on his iPhone. He's even totally welcome. I don't care at all if he posts it to YouTube. I'd be happy if he posted it to YouTube and it went viral, because it would just expose, you know, the outrageous hypocrisy of not only David Rollert himself, but pretty well every other member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and the Unitarian Universalist religious community more generally. It is truly incredible, the huge amounts of willful ignorance and psychological denial that Unitarian Universalists wallow in when it comes to injustices and abuses committed by their own clergy. So we're just going to put my picket signs back up, which fell down, and so there we go. Let's see here. So we got taxis honking at each other. So yeah, we're going to look at these picket signs. They're the two freestanding picket signs, which I put here because they go together, and there's two convenient posts to lean them up against. Unitarian Universalist misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape are totally truthful statements that are based on, you know, what we've been talking about. The Unitarian Universalist Association did in fact hire Stikeman Elliott barristers and solicitors litigation lawyer Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe to falsely accuse me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in clergy sex abuse cover-up and denial legal bullying, which sought to intimidate me into deleting blog posts about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers under threat of being charged with blasphemous libel and potentially being sentenced to up to 2 years in jail if I was convicted of blasphemous libel. Interestingly enough, besides the fact that the pretext for accusing me of blasphemous libel was false, I could not have been convicted of blasphemous libel even if it was true. My understanding of Canada's blasphemy law is that it is in fact a blasphemy law. You know, blasphemous libel is just a fancy word for, or a fancy phrase, two-word phrase for saying blasphemy, accusing a person of blaspheming against a religious community. And the upshot is that the only circumstance under which I could be guilty of blasphemous libel for criticizing such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers is if you have a good laugh about the church that is totally complicit in cover-up and denial of pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. Have a good laugh about that. So anyhow, getting back to the whole blasphemous libel thing, the fact of the matter is the only circumstance under which I could actually be guilty of the criminal act of blasphemous libel for criticizing such despicable crimes. What does it look like I'm doing?
What you always do.
Yeah, and you think it's funny, obviously.
Well, no.
You don't know? Well, you know what? If you don't know, it might be because you're willfully ignorant. Did you think of that? Did you think of that? You might be willfully ignorant.
Every day.
You might, yes, you're certainly willfully ignorant about this, because if you did know what I was protesting about, you'd pull your head out of your ass and you'd do something about it. So yeah, this, another Montreal Unitarian laughing at my protest. This happens fairly regularly. It doesn't happen every single protest, but they're not laughing on the outside. A fair number of them are laughing on the inside. They think it's very, very funny that someone would actually protest against, their various injustices, abuses, and hypocrisies, some of which are very serious indeed. Anyhow, we shall continue to circulate as we're supposed to do. In my right hand, I got a sign saying unsafe sect. In my left hand, Unitarian Universalist slander and libel. Suck you, asterisk you, as I turned it around. The other side says Unitarian Universalist perversion of justice, sucks you, asterisk you. Yeah, there's David greeting the people coming. In any case, gee, did I forget to mention that the only circumstance under which I could actually be found guilty of blasphemous libel for blog posts that are critical of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers, as if the Unitarian Universalist religious community held such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape to be sacred and holy to the Unitarian Universalist religious community. Did I forget to mention that because I was distracted a couple of times by other things? I think I might have. So anyway, that's it. That's the upshot. By falsely accusing me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and legal bullying intended to hide pedophilia and rape, the Unitarian Universalist Association's Canadian attorney, Maître Marc-André Coulombe, inadvertently suggested that Unitarian Universalists hold such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape to be sacred and holy to the Unitarian Universalist religious community. Good morning, sir. So yeah, that was one of the more hilarious aspects of being falsely accused of blasphemous libel by atheist Unitarians in the 21st century. Since we're looking at the Unitarian Church of Montreal's Wayside Pulpit, I might as well repeat what I've said before. What we're looking at here